For real, you've watched me a long time. And I think a lot of Republicans in the Senate are really under enormous pressure. When you have the Republican Party, and that old joke, this ain't your father's Republican Party, are really under enormous pressure. When you have the Republican Party, and that old joke, this ain't your father.
Welcome back to Calculated Confusion Exposed. Let me start off by saying yes, the clip of Joe Biden you just seen is from a real Joe Biden interview. More on that will be explained later in the video. The government and Hollywood work with one another using TV and movies to brainwash and control you. The following clips to be shown display definitive evidence of that. We will start with how the government and the military have influence over movies being released. The 2012 movie Argo starring Ben Affleck uses predictive programming and sets the stage nice and clear.
Aliens and robots?
Yes, sir.
You're telling me that there is a movie company in Hollywood right now that is funded by the CIA?
Yes, sir.
But did you know that the Pentagon partially funded the first Iron Man movie? Or that they collaborated on the latest Wonder Woman film? You've heard about the military-industrial complex. Well, welcome to the Military Entertainment Complex, the long historical partnership between the US Department of Defense and Hollywood. One of the most successful examples of this relationship goes all the way back to 1927, when the US military helped produce the film Wings, a war romance celebrated for the technical accuracy of its air combat scenes. The film won the first ever Academy Award, was a commercial and critical success, and led to a huge boost in recruitment. Elmer Davis, head of the Office of War Information in the 1940s, famously said, "The easiest way to inject a propaganda idea into most people's minds is to let it go through the medium of an entertainment picture, where they do not realize that they are being propagandized." A Freedom of Information Act request in 2017 revealed that the Department of Defense either funded or collaborated on over 800 films as far back as 1911 and backed 900 TV projects between 2005 and 2017 alone.
Between them, the CIA and the US Department of Defense have had varying levels of input, from simply clarifying points for authenticity to actually writing parts of scripts on more than 1,800 movies and TV shows. When it comes to influencing filmmakers, shaping the story, the Pentagon is usually in a stronger negotiating position than the CIA. Because of the hardware at its disposal, it can shut down a movie before a scene is ever shot.
The Department of Defense is actually a much more powerful player in the entertainment industry for basically financial reasons. The Department of Defense has expensive toys. They have submarines, they have aircraft carriers, they have tanks, and they have the personnel to operate each of those things. So if a filmmaker wants to make a war movie, they often will approach the Department of Defense and basically ask to borrow that equipment. And the Department of Defense will say, maybe, but can I see your script? And they will either say, this is great, we love the way that the military is portrayed in this, we will go ahead and collaborate with you. Or they may say, we hate the way that we're portrayed and refuse to participate.
These clips clearly illustrate the government's influence on Hollywood. They use propaganda in all forms of media. The CIA puts a heavy focus on controlling people. In the Beyoncé Exposed video, I talked about MKUltra. These experiments are today being used on many celebrities. Answers with Joe on YouTube explains MKUltra and some of the experiments ran.
MKUltra was a top-secret project spearheaded by the CIA that was kept out of the public's knowledge until 1974, when the story was broken by Seymour Hersh of the New York Times. To this day, it's still shrouded in secrets and mystery, and it's the birthplace of 1,000 conspiracy theories. It was the brainchild of CIA Director Allen Dulles, who apparently got the idea after hearing reports of American prisoners being brainwashed during the Korean War. In fact, he warned in a speech at Princeton in 1953 of Soviet brain warfare. Based on this concern, he gave the green light for the CIA to research what kind of drugs and hypnosis, electroshock therapy, and other various and sundry methods could be used to actually control people's minds. Luckily for Dulles and his team of mind melters, there was a new drug out there that was all the rage with the beatniks and the weirdos, known as lysergic acid diethylamide, LSD. I don't need to explain to you what LSD does. It's been around for a while now, but at the time it was brand new, and the people at the CIA started to wonder if this would be a way to kind of open up people's minds and allow you access to it and control over it first. So the goal of MKUltra was to turn subjects into unwilling assassins. In one of their experiments, they tried to brainwash a woman into shooting another sleeping woman in the room. And in another experiment, they tried to implant a trigger into a subject's mind that could be spoken over the phone that would cause them to go and plant a bomb somewhere. Some of the subjects in these experiments are volunteers, many of them from the military ranks and universities, but some of them were prisoners. In fact, some pretty notable prisoners. One was Boston crime boss James Whitey Bulger, who volunteered in 1957 in exchange for some bonus good time. According to Whitey, we experienced horrible periods of living nightmares and even blood coming out of the walls, guys turning to skeletons in front of me. I saw a camera change into the head of a dog. I felt like I was going insane. In later life, Bulger claimed that some of the experiments gave him permanent brain damage, which is certainly not something that he signed up for. But at least he did sign up for it, because a lot of people didn't. Later on, testimony from a CIA official claimed that there were actually a lot of private companies that were working with the CIA on MKUltra, and they had no idea that they were doing it. And this is also true of a lot of different agencies and institutions as well. Some of the most damaging experiments took place in Canada. Yes, Canada, the home of Alan Thicke, Dudley Do Right, and Michael Cera, also played host to MKUltra's Subproject 68, which just sounds like something out of Stranger Things. There were 149 known subprojects of MKUltra, and 6 of which performed their experiments on unwitting victims. This one was one of the worst. Dr. Donald Cameron, a respected Scottish-American psychiatrist, began working with the CIA in 1957. From then up until 1964, he subjected patients at a mental hospital in Montreal to variations of a technique he called psychic driving. Some patients were dosed at LSD, some were given electroshocks, some were kept in medically induced comas for weeks while they listened to taped messages, and some got a buffet of all the above. The point was to break the subjects mentally, basically erasing who they were so they could be built up again. And in several cases, Cameron was actually able to delete memories. In some of his patients, they were reduced back to childlike toddler states, like some of them had to be re-potty trained. In 1980, a Canadian news program, The Fifth Estate, interviewed some of the victims of Dr. Cameron. They told of changes in personality, the loss of ability to focus, and psychosis being induced in some patients. One man supposedly leapt from the roof of the hospital to his death after a period of sleep therapy and
It blows my mind, but that's the culture. It's a culture of fear for sure. And it's a big culture of mind control too. MKUltra mind control rules in Hollywood. If you don't know, Google that and look into it.
That could only be the musical stylings of Victor Oladipo, who is the reigning 2-time champion of the All-Star Weekend player talent show.
You are talented. I give you a little credit on that. A lot of credit. You're very talented. I mean, you're not a karaoke guy like me, but you can ask. You know they call me O'Brown Eyes, right?
As a matter of fact, you both have experience singing New York, New York. His was at the Slam Dunk Contest. Yours was in Vegas.
Yes.
We had the show out there. Here's just a little sampling.
Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it in old New York. I want to wake up. I love to do karaoke. That's good, isn't it?
You see those 2 mics back there?
You made up your own words.
You see those?
Wait, that was the words.
Hey.
In old New York?
Dada, you have 1 pizza, Dada, please. Dada, for AJ, you have 1 pizza, please. That's close, huh? It's not going to do anything for you. You've got enough pictures everyone. Bye, Gaga. Well, love ya.
To be honest, I really can't complain. Yeah, I was kind of, I was a little down when I found out I was injured and I had to have surgery again, or with another knee. But at the end of the day, I have amazing teammates. Guys like Draymond, everybody on this team, they come over there.
On the backside, Isaiah Thomas. But it's just going to be, they're going to give it a run, but, it's just going to be hard to beat the Cavs right now. I think they're on top of the game.
I got to go with the majority. They're on a mission right now. I guess they want to show the public that last year wasn't a fluke for us.
Yeah.
We're here, we're for real team.
Speaking of showing us, 2 Chainz, you got a shot, 2 Chainz? You got a shot, let me see that shot, dog. Speaking of showing us, 2 Chainz,
Trap now.
got a shot. Speaking of showing us, 2 Chainz, you got. Speaking of showing us, 2 Chainz, you got a shot, 2 Chainz. Got a shot. Let me see that shot, dog.
Presidential possibilities of Senator Warren? You guys have got to try the cold chai. You guys have got to try the cold chai. In every way. And I was very proud of Senator Warren. Did you talk about vice presidential possibilities of Senator Warren? You guys have got to try the cold chai.
That's exactly how you have to have a certain amount of distance between the bodies in junior high.
Yes, like they say in Catholic school, leave room for the Holy Ghost. Anyway, there is a lot of memories today, actually. It's a big day in music history.
35 years ago today, Elvis Presley passed away, the king of rock and roll. And as Mark Cohn says in his great song, Walking in Memphis, there's a pretty little thing waiting for the king down in the jungle room.
Costume contest. We do it every year. It's always a lot of fun. Let's get started. Our first caress.
MKUltra is just one tool of many they use to control the masses. With advances in technology, today we see people creating realistic masks. With the infusion of CGI, they are able to have multiple people play multiple roles. But this is nothing new. This started from the CIA and is now riddled all over media. Let's take a look.
My name is Jonna Mendez, and I was Chief of Disguise at the CIA. In my role as Chief of Disguise, my major concern was always protecting people. And so you'd wear what we called light disguise. Light disguise can be something as simple as a wig, maybe some facial hair, maybe some glasses, not a big deal. The other extreme is advanced disguise, that you would use for up close and personal for an extended period of time, where the person you were talking to would have no idea that you were not in true face.
Now with former President Obama taking on fake news, except turns out it is not really President Obama in this PSA. This is a clear example of technology that could become more widely used. And ABC's David Wright is here with more. David, this video is proof that we can't believe everything that we see online.
That is right, Paula. Good morning. They say that the camera never lies, but technology is advancing so fast that it can lie with greater and greater effectiveness. And that's the point of this new video from Jordan Peele.
Our enemies can make it look like anyone is saying anything at any point in time.
Former President Barack Obama, right?
So, for instance, they could have me say things like, I don't know, Killmonger was right.
Wrong.
You see, I would never say these things, but someone else would. Someone like Jordan Peele.
Comedian Jordan Peele actually produced this video to warn about the future of fake news. The technology uses sophisticated artificial intelligence tools able to turn familiar faces, even presidents, into puppets.
Now there is software that can be purchased and done at home, and within a few days you can manufacture what someone says.
It's been less than a week since the deadliest mass shooting in American history. And foremost in all of our minds has been the loss and the grief felt by the people of Orlando.
Here's the ground truth video of Obama saying the same words.
Especially our friends who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender. I visited with the families of many of the victims on Thursday, and one thing I told them is that they're not alone.
The heart of our method is a recurrent neural network that transforms input audio to a time-varying mouth shape.
My election symbolizes some progress, at least within the small confines.
Hey everybody. Today, 20 million more American adults know the financial security of health insurance.
Here we go. President Barack Obama. When you giving a speech, make sure you use a lot of pauses.
For real, you've watched me a long time. And I think a lot of Republicans in the Senate are really under enormous pressure. When you have the Republican Party, and that old joke, this ain't your father's Republican Party, are really under enormous pressure. When you have the Republican Party, and that old joke, this ain't your father.
See the Matrix for what it truly is.
As you can see, Hollywood goes well beyond just the entertainment business. The government is using the military, the FBI, the CIA and Hollywood to find different ways to control and influence us. The CIA is of course one of the major players of this deception. The 1949 book 1984 written by George Orwell has precisely predicted this. The book references Big Brother, as the government spying on its people, pushing propaganda, and stripping the rights of people. Today we can see how the US has infringed upon our privacy in this final clip.
In 1978, when Congress passed the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, or FISA, the law set out rules for US intelligence agencies to spy on foreign governments inside the United States. The US could even spy on Americans if they were suspected of working for a foreign government. The FISA law also set up a secret court to approve surveillance. Shh, we'll get back to that. Then in 1981, President Ronald Reagan set new guidelines by executive order without congressional oversight. Now the US government could spy on Americans outside the country if they were suspected of working for a foreign power. That is, without a warrant from the FISA court, but only as long as the nation's Attorney General signed off. It allowed for a broad collection of information. Fast forward 2 decades. Technology changed, and so did the world. In the weeks following 9/11, the Bush administration started a vast, secretive, and controversial surveillance program that let the National Security Agency monitor who Americans were talking to, by phone and email. If anyone on the line was suspected of terrorism, the government could listen to the actual phone calls or read the emails. This surveillance continued under the Patriot Act, now with the approval of Congress. How did the government justify collecting all this data? They argued that fighting terrorism is like finding a needle in a haystack, and you need the entire haystack to find that needle. In 2008, Congress approved even more surveillance. This time, technology played a huge role, because by now the United States had become the world's information superhighway, and much of the globe's communications were routed inside the country. FISA, that 30-year-old law that was meant to spy inside the country, was used as a prism to spy on the outside world. That allowed the government to monitor foreigners who were chatting on American wires. How does that affect Americans? Well, all this spying on foreigners gives the US government backdoor access to incidentally collect your information. Emails, live chats, photos, file transfers, even if you are not the target. All this is happening without the standard warrants we've come to associate with suspected criminal wrongdoing, all in the name of national security. Under FISA, the secret court gets to decide whether the government gets all this information. That said, intelligence agencies are required to mask or conceal Americans' identities from surveillance records, but top officials have the power to unmask your name. In 2013, Edward Snowden revealed how President George W. Bush had expanded this surveillance machine and how it had continued under President Barack Obama. As a result, Congress was pressured to end bulk collection of Americans' telephone records 2 years later. But just before he left office, President Obama allowed the NSA to share its raw data with the other 16 intelligence agencies, with some limitations on searching for Americans. So